Hey guys, welcome back to 155 Books. My name is Shannon and today I'm going to be sharing with you a book review for the book Slay by Brittney Morris. So I recently finished this book, and because I haven't really seen a lot of actual book reviews out there for this or haven't heard it talked about in a lot of detail, I thought I really wanted to do a book review on this book because I loved it. Firstly, I want to say that I listened to the audiobook of this, which I also really enjoyed, and I ended up giving this 4.75 out of 5 stars. I will talk about why I didn't give it exactly 5 stars a bit later, but I'm going to, obviously, like my usual reviews, go through the plot with you, what I liked about the characters, what I liked about the writing style, and what I liked about the storyline. So this book is quite often marketed as, and I've seen it I think on Amazon and maybe a couple of other places, as a mix between Ready Player One and The Hate U Give, which I kind of disagree with because this book is so much more than that and it stands on its own a lot better, probably because I also really didn't like Ready Player One. And I really enjoyed this. But the reason why I did pick this up is because I heard that it was loosely inspired by Black Panther, which I watched recently and also loved. So obviously this is a young adult book following our main character Kira, who has created an online virtual reality game called Slay specifically for Black gamers, as her experience in the past of other gaming communities and other games, there's a lack of sort of diversity in the characters, and often she's been attacked in these communities for the colour of her skin and things like that. So she wants to create a community where Black gamers feel safe. But what is interesting about this, she has not told anyone about the fact that she's created this game or that she even plays it. So obviously a lot of people know about Slay, but her friends, her family, her boyfriend, nobody knows that it's Kira that has created this game. And obviously this all starts to unravel when a young gamer gets shot over sort of a dispute, I think because someone was trying to pay actual cash for online coins or something. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail about that, but basically someone is killed, a gamer from Slay is killed, and obviously Kira finds out about this, but then she can't really tell anyone why she's stressed and anxious and all these other things, and everyone's like, why are you acting so weird? And then obviously it just sort of follows on from there. So in terms of the characters in this book, the two main characters I really enjoyed were Kira and her sister, because I really liked their relationship. It's very sisterly, but it develops as the book goes on, and they are very different people, and the author creates them so well in terms of them being so different, and I loved that. I also loved that there are multiple points of view chapters in this book from different gamers, which is super interesting, but I'm not going to explain why. And listening to the audiobook was also really helpful because the different points of view were in different accents. For example, there was one that was in French, because the character is French, and that really helped obviously bring the characters to life. But I wasn't expecting that from this book. I wasn't expecting the multiple point of view chapters from other gamers, but it added so much to the story, and yes, really loved that. That's all I'm really going to say about the characters, because I do want to go into a bit more depth about one specific character, but I'm not going to because it would spoil things. But yes, they're all really well developed in this book. Now moving on to the storyline itself, which is one of the things I really loved about this book because it just completely took me by surprise. This is a very short and snappy YA book, which I haven't had in a while, or I think that's what I like in YA books. I don't really like them to be too long-winded or feel like they're going on for too long. The last YA book that I really enjoyed, The Million Pieces of Nina Gill, that was also quite short and snappy, and it's the same in Slay. You don't get a lot of sort of other unimportant things thrown in just for the sake of it. It's short and snappy, it gets to the point, and that's why it makes such a good book. Obviously, I've already mentioned, there are so many plot twists which I was not expecting, so I was a bit oh my god, what? And then another plot twist, and then another plot twist. There's just so many, and I just wasn't expecting that. I also really enjoyed the bits that were based sort of within the game. sort of like you do get in Ready Player One, but it's done a lot better in this book, in my opinion, because it actually sort of adds to the storyline. And sometimes, because I'm not a gamer, I sometimes think reading about video games I would find really boring. That didn't happen in this book at all, and I found myself like really invested in sort of the layout of the game and what the characters could do and how it worked. And I think if it was like a real actual game, I would want to play it now after reading this book. Like, I want Slay to exist and I want to be able to play it. I also really love the parts that are sort of topics of discussion about racism that get brought up between like the sisters, the friends, the family, because it really gets your mind racing and thinking and sort of being like, wow, this is something that like black people have to think about every single day or consider, and something that like white privileged people don't even for a second have to think about. So it did also educate me in that respect. And I also really loved how everyone eventually obviously finds out that Kira plays Slay and also like created it, because I think that's why I couldn't put this down, because you know from the beginning when she's like, oh, none of my friends and family know about this, I was like, the bulk of this story is going to be everyone finding out that she created this game and that she plays it. And I think that's why I just kept reading, because I just needed those reactions from people to be like, what? You don't just play it, but you created it? Like, that's insane. Everything about the storyline I adored. But now I want to talk about the writing of the book. I would say that the writing is very well suited to the story, and Brittney Morris does a really good job of writing the sort of game related parts. Like I've already mentioned, because I don't play video games, I thought I might find those bits boring, but actually they were like the most interesting parts and I would look forward to them. So she does that really well, and it's not too like clunky or wordy or like technical. It's easy for a non-gamer to understand. But the reason why I didn't give this 5 stars and only gave it 4.75 stars is because the first 2 chapters felt a bit clunky and long-winded for the opening chapters of the book, but I could see why Brittney Morris kind of did it that way, because she was just trying to get all of like the game jargon out of the way to sort of like set up from where the story starts. I think that's like the first 2 chapters of just sort of like speeding through like, this is everything about me and my family life and my friends, and this is everything about the game that I've created and how it works, in 2 very long chapters. But then from there it's like bang, and now the story starts. So I would say if you do pick this up and you're a bit like put off by the first 2 chapters, carry on, persevere, because it gets so much better. And I want to end by saying that even though I listened to it on audiobook, as soon as I finished it, I was like, I cannot wait to reread it and actually physically read it, because I enjoyed it that much that I would go back and read it again. But actually read it rather than listen to it, if that makes sense. As much as I really enjoyed the audiobook, I want to experience physically reading it myself. So if you have heard a bit about this but you're unsure if you would enjoy it, I would say, like me, I went in not really expecting to love it, because I don't really like YA books anyway. I've kind of gone off YA, but this is a bit more sort of grown-up YA as well. I forgot to mention that. So I would definitely recommend this one, because it is a wild ride. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've read this book and what your thoughts on it were, because I feel like I need to speak to someone who has read this book so I can just like fangirl over how good it was. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!